is nasty, funky, lazy, and unhinged. Black males, this is a paper wife. She don't have self-respect or respect for you. And I am in total agreement with that. Starting off with, bonnets have always been an issue with me, and I'm one of the older women. Um, I'm 61. I'll be 62 in April, and back in the day, you did not leave the house, and you did not have yourself together. You didn't walk outside to the car. You didn't go to the 7-Eleven. You didn't go to school. You didn't go to work. You didn't go anywhere. Because when you left that house, you represented that household as a whole. You represented your father, you represented your mother and your siblings, and it went on down the line to grandma, grandpa, and anybody else in your family. And if you were caught outside and didn't have yourself together, you were drug literally back in the house to get yourself together. And to have these young girls walk out in pajamas and bonnets and looking any kind of way, it goes to lazy, trifling, and unhinged. And what man, what boy, they may look at you for a minute to do the nasty, but they not gonna look at you as a future wife, somebody they want to represent their home and take care of their kids, not looking like that. And if you're not mindful about it and have respect for yourself to put yourself together, they sure not gonna respect you. So I'm agree with you. It starts with your circle. First of all, I'm not trying to hang around anybody looking like that. I don't want to be around anybody looking like that, because it's I don't know. It's a lot of eyeliner on just to go to the corner store. So and one day I used to live around the corner from my cousin growing up, and she called me because she wanted to use my curling iron. And at the time I had rollers in my hair, and I thought I could get out of my house around the corner, drop off the curling iron to her, and then back in my house before I took my rollers out my head. That was back in the day when we used to use those little pink rollers, ladies, because we did our own hair. We didn't go to the salon and spend $120, $130, $200 to get our hair did. We did it ourselves in our own homes. Okay, but anyway, getting back to my little story, I thought I would dash out real quick, drop this curling iron off, and come back in the house. Well, I dashed out, and when I hit the driveway, the guy that I liked was parked out in front of my house. I did what do you call, slide into second base, up under the car, snatched them rollers out of my head, did the little finger comb, and popped up. All the guys standing there was like, "Where you come from? Where you come from?" I'm like, "Oh, I just came out of the house. Woo, 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 woo. I'm just running around the corner to my cousin's house. I'll be right back." But you never know when and who you're going to run into. Have yourself together, ladies. It only takes a minute, because I'm telling you, it only took me a quick minute to snatch them curlers out my head and get myself together and pop back up.
Chris, you had something to say?
Yeah, hey everybody. So I was up here and But I was going to say, we need to realize in this day and age we're in, anytime you step out of the house, you're on camera. You're on somebody's camera. That's why you can hardly do anything now and get away with it. People get caught, committing crimes. But to my point, as far as bringing back shame, I think, those of us that are opposing this type of behavior, we always get our phones in our hand. I start seeing females outside like this. I'm gonna start snapping a picture. I am. I am. And I encourage other people to do it too. I'm gonna start snapping a picture and have a compilation for that money and upload it to social media. Because they got no business being outside like this. It's no excuse. I've heard mental illness. I've heard, oh, I was just running to the store. Oh, I'm just running out to my car. Come on. At some point, the excuses got to be out the window. I encourage people to do that. Snap a picture. And when
And
they see
anything in the public is not illegal.
that's right. You have the First Amendment. Per the First Amendment,
That's
you have
right.
freedom of press.
That's
As long
right.
as you're in public and you're in public, you can take their picture. They may not like it, but oh well. Keep your behind in the house then. But stop coming out dressing like this. It's that simple.
It's not illegal.
It's not illegal. Where do you think we get these pictures from? Google.
Yep, right on Google.
So I'm just putting out the warning. If you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I catch you outside like this, I'm gonna snap your picture and upload it to social media. And if you see it, I bet you won't go outside like this again.
Sorry. Yeah.
They used to have pages like that. Like I remember way back on YouTube, they had like a person made like a little song called "These Are the People of Walmart," and it was just a slideshow of like all the worst dressing people you could ever think of and see. So I mean, me personally, because the way I'm set up, I don't like dealing with foolish people. I don't like arguments. And if you coming at me in public and you act in some kind of way, you're gonna go ahead and have to meet the Lord because I don't play that. So I won't approach nobody about this. But if you take the pictures and you post them somewhere, I most certainly will laugh.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking. Because you don't, given the way people act today, you don't know their state of mind. You don't know how they're going to react. So rather than taking a chance and saying something to them and get a reaction and it leads to violence, just snap a picture when you get an opportunity. Leave it at that.
Um, I did want to comment on somebody that was talking about the folks that use mental illness as an excuse. I don't. On the days when I'm not feeling my best or, I'm going through an episode or whatever I might be going through, I'm not going outside. They literally have delivery for groceries, for most things. Why would you go outside in your pajamas or in whatever looking a mess when you can just have it delivered? The answers are right there. I don't understand why people are not using their resources. I don't get that.
Well, listen, I think all day that's what we've had. We've had those who don't care. We've had those who we need to mind our business. And we've had those, right? And I think that, when we have that, that's because people don't want to call out the bad behaviors because that means that there's some fun that's going to stop, right? It's going to be boring. So the fun of others is going to stop. I'm pretty sure y'all have came across a room where someone was doing something crazy or acting like they're AI and or eating a bunch of food. So when certain behaviors stop, there's fun for people that stop because that takes out their enjoyment for their day. That stops for them.
Yeah.
So it says, what's the difference between wearing a head wrap, wearing a bonnet, and wearing a head wrap or a do-rag? And this is why we don't know the difference, right? Because people just think that it's okay to wear a bonnet, no matter what size they are. Like, people just don't care. People don't care. They just want to be out here this way. No matter, let's just toss the bonnets out. What about the clothing? Does that count if someone came just the clothing? Take the box. Is the clothing acceptable? Is the clothing okay to have out here in these streets? My kids got to see your crotch, your butt, your nipple, like all of those behaviors. Is that okay? Like, I don't understand people and their mindset.
If I can speak on the head wrap thing just really briefly, then I'll land and let someone else talk. I got introduced to head wraps very early on. My mama has alopecia, so she lost her hair very early on. So she would often get fabrics from Joann's, Michael's, and she would match them up with her outfits, and she would do a head wrap. And she watched them after every time she wore them and stuff like that. So it's head wraps are not the same as bonnets. It's like somebody wearing a hat, in my opinion, at least. Or for the women that are religious, that's a part of their religious, attire. But wearing a clean head wrap over wearing the bonnet that you've been sleeping and they got all your hair grease and stuff in it is different. And it always just kind of blew me whenever people compared the two, because they're not similar at all. But I'm going to go ahead and drop from there.
Bernadette, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, she's absolutely right, class. It's not the same. When you're from where I'm from, class, and I can remember the women used to sell the scarves. And, fake print, of course, but you got the Louis Vuitton scarves. You had the Fendi scarves. They were $15. And when you were in transition or whatever, that's what you would wear outside when you wanted your hair covered. You would have your scarf wrapped up real pretty or blowing in the wind. You would have your earrings on, whatever your outfit, and it would look like you're still together. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same as a bonnet. And then what I find ironic is we can't stand chattel slavery. We hate everything chattel slavery. That pulls you right back to 1600. When I see a woman in a bonnet, I hear this song, Lord, Lord. That's the song I hear. It's nothing modern. It's nothing jazzy about you. It's nothing on point about you. You look like a slave. Point blank, period. So I don't know why they would even want to look like that. And then what our sisters do is they gaslight this situation. Because when you go to any other live, right now, you can go to another live and all of our unhealed adult girls will be talking about how intelligent they are. We're the most educated. We're this, we're that, we're this, we're that. But then when we talk about do better than, they go mental illness. Pick a struggle. It's a gaslight. So which is it? Are you the most intelligent? Are you the goddess? Are you the world revolves around you? Are you even in front of the man? You can go on lives right now and they're saying they are the alpha and the omega, the end all be all. Everything revolves around me. They pull this same mess when it comes to growing your own hair out. They say, well, we have thyroid problem. Everybody, and I don't mean this good sister up here. I don't mean this good sister, but everybody don't have alopecia. How is it that you say you are the sun god, you're the Eve gene, we can make any kind of baby, we are this, we are that, but every time somebody tell you to grow your hair out, people suffer from everybody don't have cancer. All of our sisters don't have alopecia, but that's the gaslight that they run to so they can keep on that doggone rug on their head. They look for victimization. They look for pity. They want pity so they don't have to level up. I'll land.
I'm personally not necessarily against some wigs, but I also feel like a lot of people, very similar to like what Burner Down was saying, will wear a wig until it looks matted, until it doesn't look neat, until it looks a mess. And then they'll go into, like you said, they'll be claiming every issue, every reason why they're doing it, when you can very clearly, and I mean, again, I've sat and I've watched my mama do this. Whenever like the ends of like her wig would get like what's the word? I guess the word's matted. Whenever, you know, it looks like it needed to be clean, she would put it in the bowl that she reserved for literally cleaning her wigs, and she would clean it and she would comb it and she would literally do it like it was her own hair. So with the way that wigs are now, like as expensive as they are, why are you walking around with a rat's head on your head? And I will say, we're not the only race that wears wigs. Like white people, they just pull it off in a little different way. They got tape ins and different stuff like that. The way that they do their hair is totally different from us. It's just that we're the only ones that I don't know how to say it without sounding like I'm trying to hate on other people.
Ghetto.
Yeah.
We're the only ones who just think we're the only ones that just want to be acceptable to what's going on, and then what we do is we'll put all females in one bowl, including, you know, and say, well, they do it too, because they want to find a justification in the behaviors. That's it. It's just a justification for the behaviors. And we keep doing them. I mean, listen, whatever people do with their hair, they do with their hair. That's on them. As far as these bonnets going outside type of behavior, you know, that's a little bit much, you know, for me to see. It just seems like even who's in the comments, you know, it's like the behavior is just accept it, y'all. That's all it is. Just accept it. Keep it pushing. Don't say nothing. And it's like we don't see the division that we have. We have a big divide between us, whether people want to notice or not. That's why when you see those so-called uppity females who looking at you crazy because your behaviors to them says that. There's no change in your behavior, so they're looking at you in a certain way. And that goes with them YTs. Them YTs, they will come and smile and be in your face too. But it's exactly that. The behaviors, they're the ones who's going to say, I don't know why people talking about y'all like that. That's crazy that you have to be like that. You know, as females, we need to learn how to come together, and you'll have someone come right behind her and be like, yeah, act so and so. Yes, I don't know why they're doing this. This is how we become this way, because those behaviors happen all the time. I don't care where we at, what we're doing, those behaviors come and we keep doing it. And it's bad for us to say. It's terrible for us to tell each other that our behaviors is out of line. We don't want us to tell us nothing. We can't say jack. But I know for those who are wives, and I mean wives, not paper wives, those who, you know, want to be wives, there are certain things that you just cannot do. Just can't do. Not at all. This is one of them. I don't know no man that's going to accept that behavior. Not at all. Nope. Even that's protection when he tell you to go outside. When he say you don't go outside dressed like this, that's protection.
I want to say something to the adult girls. This behavior right here will keep your man from getting a promotion. No matter how much education he get. If this ever pops up on social media and he wants to get a promotion and his job finds out about it because he don't have his house in order, how's he gonna keep a company in order?